Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to your life path reading for 2022. Can you believe we are here already? So before we get into it, this first part of the reading is always, it's an overview. So what we're going to be looking at is 2022 as a 6 year. This is really important context because it's going to tell you how the year is likely to go in its trends, its themes, the energies that we're likely to experience. And that provides an important context and a backdrop for how we're all going to be experiencing this in, or rather, through the context of the universal year. But more importantly, how that energy is going to play out for us really speaks to how we experience our personal year. So that in itself as well is just as important. I will put a link for those personal year videos in the I'll put one in the description, and I'll put one on the little thing floating above my head so that you can get even more into it. But like I said, this part, don't skip it. It's really important that you get an idea of what we're going to be dealing with. And I will be going very in depth this time round. So let's get straight into it. So 2022 is a 6 year, as you now know. 6 is actually the number that is ruled by Venus. So we can definitely say that 2022 is going to be a much easier, a much slower paced year. It's going to be a much calmer year. What I will say as well, 2021 saw us, we kind of experienced a lot of change, right? A lot of upheaval, lots of sharp turns, lots of twists and turns, lots of surprises. It did see a lot of advances in technology, which I talked about. It did see a lot of advances in cryptocurrency, which I talked about in the 2020 videos, right? In the videos for 2021. So it's great to see that this kind of tracks. Now, in terms of the universal year being the number 6, it is tended towards like a slower pace. It's more focused, it's more connected. It's a lot less erratic as well, which is great for all of us, especially those of us that are already naturally a little bit erratic. It's going to be a year that is directed more towards altruism, a year that's directed more to support, to connection, to balance, harmony. It's definitely going to be a year where people really start to consider their own personal impact on things. So we're going to see this energy of accountability is going to start to become a really big or really powerful theme throughout 2022. Now, that accountability isn't just going to be for us on the microcosmic level. It's going to be for all of us on the macrocosmic level as well. So this is going to be about governments. This is going to be about people that are in charge, people that are heads of companies, heads of state, etc. There's going to be a lot more of people expecting others to be accountable for their actions and, more importantly, for their impact on the wider world. So as always, I've got my trusty notes here. So if I'm looking away, that's where I am. All right. So in a way, the buzzword for this number 6 year is responsibility. It's one of the biggest words that comes up for the energy of the number 6, right? So it's going to come sharply into focus for all of us in some way, shape or form. Who are we responsible for? Who are we responsible to? And more importantly, how do we meet those requirements? How is it that we really show up for what and who we are responsible for? And how do we play our part, right? Whether for the good or for the ill, as they say. So some of the considerations that are going to come up with this year, and these are definitely not, like, it's not just limited to the things that I mentioned. You'll see many trends and themes evolve over the year, but these are the ones that I've really honed in on because I kind of feel like these are going to be like they're going to be like the structure or the skeleton of the year that really kind of shows people, right, okay, this is where we're at. So domestic life, when it comes to your home, its contents, everybody that lives within, so people that you live with or, people that you want to live with. How can you get the most out of your home? How can you improve your home? There's going to be a lot of decorating, interior design is really going to take off this year or become a lot more prominent. People, doing more development on their homes. So that whole thing about construction of new homes, definitely going to be a theme throughout this year. The materials that we need in order to construct homes is also going to be a challenge over the course of this year. It's a continuation in a sense, yes, but these things are really going to be highlighted. How can you make your home look and feel better for yourself or for the people that are dwelling inside with you? what can you do to make your home a sanctuary, right? Because your house is what keeps you safe from the elements. It's what helps you shut the world outside out when you need to. It's supposed to be a sanctuary. Supposed to be warm, you know, to be a place where all of your needs can be met regardless of what's happening. And I think a lot of people are really going to tap into that this year. Home, the hearth, the family, familial ties and connections, whether these are familial ties and connections that you choose or whether they're familial ties and connections that you're born to, is kind of going to be irrelevant this year. It's going to be all about how do we connect? How do we, you know, bring more of that connection in? These things are going to be more important than ever, so I do feel like those things will definitely expand. So on the wider world stage, this is likely to translate to a housing crisis. It might also be that we start to get more conscious of how can we eliminate the problem of homelessness. We might see a big drive towards how we can start to improve, you know, living life for people. It's ridiculous. It's just, sorry, excuse my language, but it's effing ridiculous that in 2022 we still have homeless people. It's just unfathomable. It just doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous. Okay, rant over. Reining it in. All right, so this whole thing about, again, right, this disparity between wealth and, you know, the super wealthy and all the rest of it. Not only are we going to see more of a divide, but we're going to start to see more calls to action to shrinking that divide, to making things more equal, to making things more balanced. Remember, this number is ruled by Venus. Venus is all about balance. It's all about harmony. It's all about smoothing off the rough edges. So it's probably going to see us highlighting what we can do for those that are homeless in some way, shape or form. So another thing that I've got here as well is cleanliness. So I believe that over the course of this year, we're going to see a much more, we're going to be more focused on cleanliness, and how that can be a part of our daily routines, which I find this really interesting as well, because in ancient astrology, Demetra George writes in one of her books that one of the things that is assigned to Aquarius is cleanliness, right? Which is really interesting to me because Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, is in the sign of Aquarius. So I found that really interesting that as soon as we had this, yes, we had the pandemic and the shutdown and the lockdown and stuff, but we also had this really, you know, powerful, stringent drive towards being more clean. Now, what I will say is what I've got here is, what is clean? How do we clean? And I think this is going to see a lot of developments on the wider world stage on how we can cleanse or clean our lives, our homes and our bodies, but in ways that aren't toxic to us or the environment. So there's going to be a lot of developments on how we can work in harmony or in tandem with nature rather than fighting with it in some way, which I think is great, right? So we're probably going to see new technologies and things developed when it comes to cleanliness. I think this is going to have a lot to do with sound and frequency. I've got this really, you know, powerful hit when I was doing all of the research for this year, that these are going to be some of the ways that we really tap into this idea of cleansing ourselves, cleansing our space, cleansing our body. And remember, everything at the end of the day is vibration and frequency. So I think we're going to see a lot to do with developments on that front. We'll definitely be paying more attention to our oceans, our seas, our rivers and our lakes. There's going to be big focus on how to clean up our water supply, because if we don't have water, it don't matter how rich, what your status, where you're from, if you ain't got water, you ain't got life. Period, right? Clean water is a necessity for everybody. So there's going to be more money and attention placed on the vital waters of life. I definitely believe that. That being said, new developments in blood cleansing and vaccinations. I definitely feel 2026 is where we're going to see a massive advancement towards a cure or a vaccine for HIV and various other illnesses as well. So when it comes to healing, we're definitely going to see a big focus on this as well. A lot of the new age methods will start to really gain prominence. Now, when I say new age, what I actually mean is ancient ways of healing. herbalism, medical astrology, sound, frequency, vibration, all of those things, energy healing. We're going to see all of these things really start to come to the fore. Natural, non-toxic, non-invasive ways of healing are going to really prevail over this year. And here's the beauty of it. I don't think that this is going to pit us at odds with the medical tradition. I actually feel like we're going to start to see a dovetail. This is where we're going to start to see how can we fuse these things? How can we really find ways to integrate the two, which will be brilliant. I definitely think we're going to see an expansion of such things. Sound healing, frequency, vibrational healing will definitely come to the fore. I also think that medical science is definitely going to advance this year. Like, I really believe that. But as a result, I think we're going to see more and more of a crossover between the two. If not a global level, then at least at a grassroots level. And that grassroots level of everything is going to be very important this year, because we're going to see a lot more of that. All right, we're going to start to see less of the we're going to start to see it more on the microcosmic level, let's say. Herbalism, definitely going to be a revival. Green get together and more group healing work as well is definitely going to start to expand. So when we talk about spiritual progression, to be spiritual is to be organized and in harmony with all that surrounds you and all that you encounter. So just like its upside down counterpart, the number 6 has a natural draw towards leaving the world and people better than you find them, right? 6 is actually the number that is all about responsibility and service. It's the energy of the agony aunt or the healer or the mystic or the the maintenance or the caregiver, right? So it's all about leaving things and people or even environments better than you find them. We're going to see a lot of this year and a lot of drive towards that. This energy as well can be known as the fixer energy. So it takes problems, challenges and issues, and it will lovingly and painstakingly work on them until they're dissipated or, removed altogether. It's actually a very spiritual number in that sort of sense. And because, the highest form of spirituality is to be of service to the universe in some way, shape or form. I truly believe that. Now, this is, it's what I've put here is, it's the cleansing ritual before the magic and the enchantment of the year 7, 2023 kicks in, right? So for those of you that are into this kind of thing, 6 is the year of the clearing and the cleansing of the space before you set your enchantment or your intention forth in the 7 or the spiritual sphere, all right? So it's an important aspect or a part of this that people often overlook, right? So remember, all steps are important in the process of manifesting something. You can't leave one out, and that means not leaving out the cleansing stage as well. All right, so on the wider world stage, we're definitely going to see more care towards service providers, healthcare workers and professionals, people that actually showed up for us when it really bleeping mattered. Like, we're going to see a lot more kindness and courtesy towards those people, if not from, the oligarchs and all of the hierarchical stuff, certainly from the people on the ground below. All right, so support and connection. This is a very supportive energy. It's very connective. 6 has that natural pull, that natural draw towards harmonizing things, bridging the gaps between things that maybe don't have any connection and finding a way to create one. It means as well taking form from one thing to give to another. So this may very well see, so 2020 and 2021 we saw a lot of wealth transference from the majority of the people to the minority of the people. 2022 is going to start to see the opposite. It's the way that universal law works, right? You can't have something that is unbalanced. The universe doesn't like it, just like it doesn't like a vacuum, right? So it's very, very interesting to see how this will come out. This divide between the wealthy and the poor, we're definitely going to see more of a spotlight on it. If it goes ignored, there will be a lot of noise and a relentless drive towards making it better for everybody as opposed to just a certain few. So let that be a universal warning to those those that are in charge. Don't shoot the messenger, I'm just a vessel. This will definitely be the starting of the community living. So lots of people have talked about this, and we know it's coming through in the astrology as well. 2022 is where we're really going to see this stuff start to happen. It's actually going to become a reality. We're going to see communities popping up left, right and center. People will be demanding more connection, more community, more sense of pulling together. If they don't get it, and it's not present in the world, then they'll just create it themselves. It will literally just be that, like, okay, well, what we want and what we need isn't being provided, so we'll do it our damn selves. And once we've done that, there's not going to be any standing in our way because we declare our own, right? So, you know, I love it. It will definitely be more about people coming together and living together as well. More sharing, more caring is the name on is the name and the number of Venus. Beauty and romance. So while this number is very practical, it's also very Venusian in a sense. It does appreciate anything and everything natural. We're going to see a draw towards more sort of neutral colors, lots more pastel colors, things that are a lot more things that are a lot more pleasing to the eyes, things that are lighter, brighter and more caring. So 2021 was a lot about sort of, you know, what was really in your face and really bold and really deep and all the rest of it, whereas 2022 is going to be a lot more sort of smoother. So I've put here pastels and greens, yellows and blues. Gentle color palettes are definitely going to be way more favorable, as will gentle makeups, anything that is natural, that's kind to the skin, that's kind to the environment, that's easy to make without destroying the environment. All of this going to be to the fore. Startups that promise to be you know, kind to the environment, or to offer more in the way of you know, kindness to flora and fauna will definitely come up over the course of this year for sure. Also, the demand for more greenery, the demand for more natural feel to things, for more open spaces, more room for animals, more connection to, with and for nature is going to be to the forefront. And again, if we don't get it, people will just start to create it. People are definitely going to start walking away from cities, anywhere that's too built up, where you're living on top of each other like, you know, sardines and stuff. It's just not the way of it anymore. People want more space, more openness and more freedom where they can gather more together. And, you know, again, if they don't get it, they'll just make it themselves. They want clean, fresh, natural, open spaces that have a community or communal feel to it. There's a need or a call for more. That's where the money's going to be flowing as well. So if you're thinking about starting a business, think about all of the things that I've mentioned are going to come up over the course of this year, because this is just the seeding of it. It's not like, oh, here it's 2022 and that's all that's going to be, and, you know, then it's done. This is like literally, that's, you know, this is the chance really for you to get ahead of the next gold rush, I guess. All right, so what people will be interested in. People are going to be interested in things and people that roll up their sleeves and get stuck in and help others. The beauty is in the dirt, in the mud, in the sweat, in the beauty, in the fucking crotch of everything that you are, right? This is about getting stuck into things with the deepest aspects of yourself. It's not about surface stuff. It's about coming together. It's about really being accountable and responsible, and, you know, thinking about other people rather than just yourself. Those are going to be the things that are sexy this year. That's going to be the stuff that really gets people fired up. The elements and how they affect and change us: rain on the skin, air in the lungs, grass under your toes and in between your toes, and sand in your toes. I get really excited because I'm a hobbit at heart. You know, give me a tree to put my back to, a book, maybe some music, don't necessarily need it, but, and, you know, a wide open expanse with my toes in the grass. You got me for life. I'm happy. I don't need much. All right. We'll definitely see a lot of kickback between companies and their workers. Why? 6 is the number of the home and the hearth. And as I said to you last year, this whole idea of going back to the office, a lot of people are just done with it. They're over it. They don't want it, right? And they will continue to kind of hold back from that. So a word to companies, etc. Think about ways that you can sort of maybe create a more blended feel where people can spend more time at home and some time in the office. Because if you try to just get them to come back to this whole 9 to 5 in the grind thing, it's just not going to work. It's already started falling apart. All right, people want comfort, connection, community, and ease. That's got more weight than the high-powered career this year, right? 6 is bringing a reckoning. It really is. Okay, so Jupiter falling or moving into the sign of Pisces is directly feeding into all of this. So Jupiter is the great magnifier, the great expander, the great lord of abundance and growth, children and spiritual law. So I've said this before and I will definitely say it again. I think we're going to see a massive drive to, not drive towards, but I think we're going to see a lot of babies born in 2022 for sure. The big man of kings and universal law is what I've put here. All of it sounds wonderful for the most part, and it is. But consider this, Pisces is the 12th sign. It's a placement of a lot of politics and people that are in politics, which means we might see as well, I think we're going to see a few meteoric rises of certain politicians or people that kind of seem to come out of nowhere and all of a sudden find themselves, you know, at the top with lots of followers or really, you know, standing out in their message or in their speech. If they meet the needs and the wants and the will of the people, they will survive. If not, it will be a collective thumbs down. It's going to be more and more that the will of the people starts to rule from here on in. So again, let that be a message to those of you that are in charge. So Pisces is all things and no thing at once. It's got no boundaries. It's a double-bodied water sign. As such, it's got no boundaries, and it means that we do have quite a lot to consider in this sense, because if Jupiter expands things and Pisces has no boundaries, this is like literally an expansion of that boundlessness. So this is something to consider. It's also going to be, I talked about the huge wave of babies that might be coming in from here on in. We now see a dissolving of certain ideas and also places. The European Union might start to crumble or dissolve. Not saying it will, but just an idea. Borders between countries may also start to come down, or the lines may get very blurred. Neptune's already in Pisces, so we're going to see a lot of legalized drugs this year. And maybe in places where they haven't been before, or maybe places where it's been a little bit more taboo, etc. I think we're definitely going to see a drop in the crime rate, which I talked about in, if any of you purchased my 2022 videos, I talked a lot about this for 2022 in those. So if you've seen the sign videos, then you know I talked about this. Whatever has been hidden will come to light in powerful ways. And then finally, as Jupiter is the ruler of spiritual law, we're going to see more than a few cases of miracles, but it's also going to be vital to have your wits about you, right? It's important that you don't allow yourself to be hoodwinked this year, because there are going to be a few rises of gurus, etc. And as we drive towards more people cultivating a need for spirituality, especially as we get to 2023, it's going to be important to use your own discernment, especially for some of the stuff that we see, because we might see some weird stuff in 2022 still. You know, just be aware that that is the case. Now, I have said to everybody, building a solid spiritual practice for 2022 is going to be vital, because that spiritual practice and that spiritual work that you do in 2022 is going to offer you the life raft or the rope to get you through the murky weirdness that is going to be 2023. I make no bones about saying this, right? For those of you that have seen the webinar that I did with Heather from Astrology with Heather, we talked about the next 5 years from 2020 right through to 2025. It's going to be an interesting time for sure, but 2023 was the year that really stood out to me as being like, okay, yeah, this is going to be a really weird year, right? We're going to see some odd stuff 2022, but it will be the real weird sort of murky, what the hell is going on? That will be 2023. So finally, energy medicine, witchcraft, occult things, astrology, numerology, tarot, human design, all of these systems are going to be more in demand than ever. We might see some kickback from them. Integrity is going to be everything. Those tarot readers, astrologers, numerologists, human design readers, witches, all the rest of it. The ones that have integrity will be the ones that really do well this year. Remember, Jupiter's in its home sign of Pisces. So while there'll be an expansion of these things, it will be the ones that have integrity, the ones that are on point, the ones that are not charlatans, basically, that will be the ones that continue to grow, whereas everybody else will kind of fall to the wayside. And then finally, let me be clear, the age of the guru, while coming to an end, will be going out with a bang. All right, so you're going to have to see this. And I do feel that we're going to see a lot of, not a lot of, but certainly some of the bigger ones will be taking a tumble, because the smoke and mirrors energy just not going to cut it this year. All in all, I think this can be a very beautiful year, maybe one that is a little bit excessive, possibly even a little bit pedantic in its energies. Remember, it is Venus ruled, so maybe the dark side is that people just want more luxury because they've been denied so many things. But it is going to be lighter, it is going to be brighter, it is going to be easier, more down to earth, and certainly better than anything we've experienced over the course of the last 3 years. With that said, stick around and we will get into your life path reading for 2022. Thank you so much. Take care and I'll see you soon. Hello, you wonderful Life Path 9 person. Welcome to your 12-month breakdown with me. So let's get straight into it. Before we start, as always, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So let's get into it. Before we do though, we need to look at how the energy of 2026 is going to speak to the energy of your life path number. So if you are a life path 9, this is for you. There's no like ascendant or anything like that. With numerology, it doesn't work that way. Your life path number is the number that you're born with, and that is it, right? You can't change it. All you can do is learn to work with it, to express the blessings, right, and revel in them, and to work through the lessons and the challenges. That's what we're all here for. All right, so for what have I got for you this year? The way that these energies combine for you specifically, this is going to be a time of self-preservation, right? Now, when you hear that, some people will probably panic and think like, oh my gosh, like, does that mean I'm going to be under attack or anything like that? No, it doesn't. It simply means that your own preservation, your own, I almost want to say salvation, right? You need to find that within yourself this year. This is about being responsible for yourself. It's about really taking time to nurture and nourish yourself, to maintain yourself, whatever that might mean to you. So this is a year to be of service, definitely a year to be of service to others, but also this is a year for you to learn to be of service to yourself. This is a year for you to learn to be learn to give to yourself, learn to nourish yourself, learn to nurture yourself on those deeper kind of levels from the inside outward, right? And we're going to talk about the outward as well. So this is a time to be open to the possibilities and ask yourself how you can perfect what is already working in your life or what you'd like to grow more of, and how you can release what isn't. This is a year really for you to find some semblance of balance inside yourself. Now, as a life path 9, and you know, don't fret, I've actually got a lot of 9 energy in my numerology, so I know what I'm about to say could be triggering for some people, but don't worry, it's something that I've had to work through over the course of my life as well. If you carry a heavy 9 energy, or specifically a life path 9, I'm not a life path 9, but I have, like I said, a lot of 9 energy, you tend to have like emotional extremes, like your highs are super high, but your lows are super low. And a lot of people, you know, if they're unconscious about this kind of stuff, will just literally, you know, pendulum swing from one to the other. Like everybody in life, we're all here to find some semblance of balance, but you could find that this year in a really powerful and a really beautiful and a very cathartic sort of way. So allow yourself to feel what you feel, but ask yourself, how can I channel this energy and how can I ride this wave of emotion? If you do that this year, the leaps and bounds that you could make could be massive. So this is a year for you to work on your mind, your body and your spirit. This is a time for you to cleanse, right? Anything that is not supportive to your health, to your physical body, anything that is, you know, in your space and all of that kind of stuff, it's got to go. Anything that is not, you know, harmonious to your mind and your thoughts, that's even your own thoughts, your own belief structures, your own hold-ups and hang-ups, right? This is a year to do all of the maintenance work on your entire being, your mind, your body and your spirit. Anything that rubs these things up the wrong way, and this isn't to, you know, you don't get a free pass to go around and say, well, you know, you rub my spirit the wrong way, so I'm gonna cut you out and cleanse you and all of that. It's not about that. This is about from the inside out, right? So, and the more changes that we make on the internal level, this is a simple universal law, right? I'm giving you a secret here, but it's about as basic as it gets. The more you change your inner vibration, the more the things around you will literally, like I just got my little goosebump shiver, will literally vibrate out of your life because they're not holding that same resonance or that same frequency. So the more you change on the internal planes, right? So maybe start with if you've got stuff that you want to work on with your body, start with the spirit. Empty your spirit first, right? Empty your mind first, and then everything else, including your body, your environment, even people, situations, bosses, jobs, like the list goes on. The more you change on that internal level, the less the stuff that, you know, is disharmonic to you will be able to hold your space because it's not resonating at a frequency that's strong enough to hold you back. All right, sermon over, rant over, I apologize. All right, roll up your sleeves and get stuck in, right? This is a year to do the work, right? Although there are going to be some wonderful advancements for you this year, you are going to have to show up, right? It's not just that things are going to be easy and they're just going to come to you. Maintenance requires work, right? All right, so whatever you do, whatever you buy, whatever you create, do it to the highest and the best of your ability, right? Whatever it is, even if it's just, even if you're just going shopping, and you know, this kind of sounds like well, you would do that anyway, but pick the best item that you can possibly have, right? So if you're picking apples for the day, make sure they're the best apples that you can have, right? If you're spending time with friends and loved ones, make sure it's the best time that you can have. And this doesn't mean going overboard and, you know, laying out the airs and graces and all of that. It just means doing whatever you're doing to the highest of your own ability. No one, even the universe, cannot ask any more of you than that. Right? Be open, be social, and be on hand to assist others. This could be a great year for networking, connecting with people, building some sort of business partnership. Highly favored for this year as well. You'll have to forgive me, it's quite overcast here today. Family matters of all kinds are going to become prominent this year, right? So your family might rely on you more this year. They might need your assistance more this year. They might call upon your services more this year. There is going to be a level of you being of service to others, but the service to self has to come first, right? From there, all things what's the word that I'm trying to think of? Oh, it's gone. From there, all things come forth anyway, is the message that I'm trying to convey. Opportunity lies this year in doing things for other people. So your blessings this year, you're able to find solutions. You might be able to find solutions this year to things that you know, something that's been bugging you or hounding you for the longest time, and it's just like, I don't know how to get past this. I don't know how to, you know, I've never been able to do anything with it. And this year the answer could come, right? So let things flow in towards you. Growth in work, growth in business, highly favorable, especially in things where you're doing stuff in partnership or in tandem with others, highly favored, but yours has to be the final say. Find your stride. Like this year you could find your own balance, your own rhythm, your own cadence. And when you find that within yourself, it can be so, I want to say, like, settling. Like, you know, when you find your rhythm with something, it's like with anything that you do new, like at first it's like, oh, I'm never going to get this. And then when you get it, you're like, ah, this is cool, right? And then you make it look easy because you've got that rhythm and that flow and you found your personal stride. This year you can find that with life in general, and it could be wonderful. So join clubs, join groups, spend anything where you're spending time with other people, where you're in a sense of or a spirit of community, could be highly favored for you over the course of this year. And then finally, your lessons, there could be more burdens on you, more burdens placed on you this year, which is why that responsibility to self so important, because that way you're going to know when to say no. Greater responsibility for sure in all walks, right? Whatever you do, there's going to be more responsibility this year. Greater integrity will be demanded of you, right? So if you're planning to cut corners or just be really selfish and me, if everything that I've said to you is kind of inciting that in you, you're in for a rude awakening, I'm sorry to say. And then finally, more home time, right? So you might find that you are having to be on hand more at home. For some of you, this might even spell out surprise pregnancies. So maybe you've got all of these plans for world domination, and then boom, all of a sudden you're pregnant, and it's like, oh crap. Like, yes, it's a wonderful thing to be celebrated, but it completely puts a spanner in some of the ideas or the works that you had in the wings, so to speak. So that's how your numerology is going to speak to you over the course of this year. Now let's get into your cards for the year ahead. So you're going to get one destiny card, one direction card per month. And the first card out, I kind of feel that this card always is like the bellwether, right? It sets the tone for what the whole kind of year is going to be like. Now, at this point in January, straight away, Venus is going to be retrograde in the sign of Capricorn right up until the 29th of January. Mercury will go retrograde on the 15th of January from the sign of Aquarius, and will retrogress back into the sign of Capricorn. So just be aware that that energy is floating around. So this year you start the year with the Lovers card, right? With choice, with I really like this for you, actually. And funnily enough, the Lovers card is number 6. We're going into the year 2022, which is a 6 year. So in a way, you've got your finger on the pulse, right? This is going to be a year where you really understand what is going on, what is happening. You're going to understand people. You're going to understand what people's minds are saying and what their actions are. Try not to use that for totally selfish or nefarious purposes, but for the most part, do use that to your advantage, right? Especially if there's something that you want to bring out into the world, because you understand what people want, what people's needs are this year. You're more able to pinpoint ways to help and assist other people as well, and in turn, your business and your prominence will grow. Now, that being said, on a more localized sort of microcosmic level, the Lovers card is about love, relationships, partnerships. This suggests, for those of you that are single, this is likely to be a year where you align with somebody, right? 6 is a great year for relationships of all kinds. It's also a great year for interpersonal connection as well. So, we're going to see that on the wider world stage. But more importantly, you've got the Lovers card here. For those of you that are single, my money is on the fact that either right out of the gate in January or over the course of this year, you are meeting somebody that really ends up becoming something quite special to you. And I don't say that lightly. Now, for those of you that are partnered, married, or in long-term commitments, I really like this because it suggests that you're choosing the relationship first. You're choosing the family first. It's like almost like, as well, for some of you, maybe there'll be questions around a relationship that come up for you in January. And rather than have this kind of be a problem or an issue, it's like you're saying, well, look, you know what? If I don't make time, there's never going to be any time. You've got a jumping card, and your jumping card is the Father of Pentacles. So this is the King of Pentacles, right? You've got the King of Pentacles on top of the Lovers card. So for those of you that are single, you could be meeting an earth sign person, a Taurus, a Capricorn, or a Virgo. Very possible. The fact that you've got this on the Lovers card though, and I'm going to be really honest with you, because for a lot of you, this does feel like there is going to be a choice. Some of you might need to choose between the partner and the career. Some of you may feel like those are the two things that you need to, your home life and your personal life, your home personal life and your work life, your profession, your status or your standing in the world. This year, it looks like, and certainly in January, you might feel this, right? Especially those of you that are partnered, married or in long-term commitments already. You might find that the home is wanting or needing more from you, and you've got all these ideas and these, plans for, things that you want to create and stuff that you want to do. And it's like you find yourself pulled in two different directions. You're going to have to find a way to work through this. For some of you, this could be starting a home-based business. And for some of you, this could be you deciding in January, right, you know what, I'm going for that promotion. That's the thing that's important to me right now. And that's the thing that I'm going to focus on from here on in. So I think there's a lot of self-honesty that comes up for you in January, straight out of the gate. Like you're really asking some of the harder questions. You're being honest with what your wants and your needs are. And more importantly, you're being open to whatever your relationship has to offer. For February, you have the Star card. Of course you do, right? I love this. So for those of you that are planning to release websites, for those of you that are planning apps or anything like that, highly favored. February looks like a great month for you. Anything where you are tapping into the interconnected, interpersonal part of the internet is really like, because this is the thing nowadays, it's just kind of, it's like, just mass marketing and, all of that. It kind of feels like there's no one that really sells community anymore. Do you know what I mean? Well, no, actually that's not true. There's a few people, but a lot of it's just buy this and I've got this and I've got that. And it's like, it's kind of like a lot of it has lost its heart. You could present something that goes against the grain there and you could do very, very well from it. So if you've got anything of that nature, February looks like a great month for it. Now, I will also say as well, remember the Star card is a glimpse of the future. Pay attention to what and who shows up for you in February, because they're likely to be giving you the next signpost, where you go from here, what you need to make that hope, that wish, that whatever, that dream a possibility. Comes up with the Tower card, right? So one way that you could see this, this could be an interesting moment. This could be a power cut. We could see a cyber attack, very possible. I would, it could be a cyber attack. It could be something of it could be a power cut, absolutely. Because it is the Star card and it's the Tower, I also get that this could be an issue that arises between people. This could also be some sort of internet censorship, which would not surprise me at all if we see a crackdown in February. I'm going to be really honest with you and say I don't think it lasts, but it's certainly something that we might see. Now, more importantly, on a personal level, this suggests that some of the stuff that shows up for you in February, they're curveballs, right? These are things that you couldn't really know, things that you couldn't predict. Remember what I said about that surprise pregnancy? It could be that. Maybe it's, and I touch wood, a family member says, look, I've just lost my home and become homeless. I need to come and stay with you. There's something that suggests that whatever it is that shows up for you in February, you couldn't really have planned for it, but you're going to take it in stride. And it could be a part of what actually really helps you further your goals or your ends. So don't stress about this. And don't hold back. The reason I say this is because it could be a blessing in disguise. Let's say one of your parents ends up having to move in with you, and you've got all these plans for world domination, but the home now needs more support. And then maybe your parent says to you, well, you know what, I'm here now, so I'll look after the kids. You go and conquer the world with your business. There's so many ways that this could show up, but what I'm saying is look for the gems, because there could be some really wonderful moments that show up. For March, you have the Death card, all right? So that's a little bit challenging, let's be honest, right? Because it comes up here, right next to the Tower and the Star card. March is interesting as well, because 9 is the number that is most attuned to the natural world, like to the physical earth. And I wonder if what's happening here is through the cards and me channeling your energy, I'm tapping into some of the geological stuff that may be happening around February and into March, because this feels like it's something that's happening on the wider world stage, some form of a disaster. And I really hope that I'm wrong on that front. And it's so weird because just as I started talking about this, it started to rain. So I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, I don't know. All right. Now, on a more personal level, this is going to be a time where you're having to let something go, right? This is where you're having to release something. This could be an idea. It could be a direction that you were hoping to go in that you now realize is suddenly actually not viable, right? As much as I wanted to do this, it's not possible anymore for any number of reasons. To clarify on this, you have the World card. Right, so this is an interruption. There's something happening here on the wider world stage, and here's where this gets really interesting. March has seemed to be a bit of a dicey month throughout all of the readings that I've done, and this is one of the reasons that I love doing this project, because when I did these in 2020, I had a really powerful glimpse, like it was like a big overview of what the likely trends and themes were going to be on the global scale. And I find this really interesting because no other reading has had, there's the click, I get little rings, tings and pings around the place. It's like the weirdest experience, but I love it. I think I'd be weirded out if it didn't happen. What I find with your number is, like I said, because it's attuned to the world, like number 9 is the most worldly number in the sense that it's most deeply connected to the earth and to the people on the earth. So I find this very, very interesting. I wonder if this is going to be some, you know, and I touch wood, I hope I'm wrong, this is going to be some sort of mass disaster of some kind. Hold fast, all right? Now, when it comes to you on a personal level, whatever travel you had planned for March, it looks like it's not going ahead. I'm really sorry to say that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you go and you have an amazing time or whatever, but if there is some sort of travel plan that you have for March that is stopped dead in its tracks, there is a reason for that, and there's something, that needs to be one of your mantras, right? Especially through February and March. There is a reason this is not happening or not going ahead, all right? As we come into April, we go into the first eclipse season of 2022. So on April 30th, we've got that powerful eclipse, solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus. So use that to your advantage or plan accordingly. Eclipses aren't, because they can be seen as quite malefic energies, so it's not necessarily the best time to set an intention, but it is a good time to pay attention to what's showing up or shaping up around this time, because it's likely to be quite prominent, certainly for the next 6 months. And as I've said to everybody, whatever's happening here in April will likely be culminating, completing, or expressing its good here in November. So for April, you have the Tower card, right? Money on it. There's something happening on the wider world stage around this time, and it's really weird because yours is the only number that's really picked it up. There were hints in other readings, but it's not been as clear as this. Now, for April, I want to say to you, all bets are off, right? This is a time where, just because this is the destiny energy, it was the clarifying energy for February, but because it's the destiny energy for April, I almost want to say to you, not only are all bets off, but whatever plans you have, keep them fluid, because the chances are whatever you're trying to move ahead with, the external situation or circumstances may not necessarily allow for it. So your plans need to have some sort of fluidity to them. You've got this with the 9 of Pentacles, which is a very, very earthy card. I mean, look at this. It's all earth and air. apart from the death card, which is water, but this is basically just all earth and air for the first 4 months. Now, the earth stuff is about the material realm, money, finances, resources, but also the environment, you know, the geological world. And then it's also, air is all about the communications, about the intellect. It's about communications and speaking, listening, writing, reading. April, I have a strong suspicion that we're likely to see some, I mean, February through March, I think the weather is going to be really weird. You know, I think maybe we're going to see some extreme weather patterns, probably. On a more sort of personal level, April will likely be a month where whatever you are building, it just has different results, right? So this could be like, the only example that's coming to mind right now is you decide to build a house and you end up building a mansion. Or you maybe, I don't know, you decide to build a house and you end up, you decide to buy a house, and instead of buying a house, you end up buying a van. And, you know, like they do, right? Just buying a van, going around and living in this luxurious thing. One thing that I will say as well, March and April both look to be times where whatever travel you have planned is not going ahead, all right? And there are reasons for this. The other thing with the Nine of Pentacles as well, because this is about refinement, right? So this could be, for some of you, there's two things that come to me. One, this could be a time where a lot of you drastically lose weight. And when that happens, people tend to panic because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm ill, you know, something's going wrong inside or whatever. I don't actually think that this is the case. What I actually feel is happening is what I talked about with your numerology. It's like you're shedding so much, you're having so many big personal realizations, releasing so many things on the internal that you're just dropping weight. So this could be something that happens for a lot of you. The other thing that comes up here as well, this might be a time where you really start to understand what needs to go, right? So a lot of people might look at you and think maybe they're having a midlife crisis. It's just like, I don't know, I just get this sense that you're going to be chucking things away, not just, you know, items or objects, but ideas, beliefs, you know, even things that you've done or loved for a long time may suddenly just not resonate with you. And it does feel like it happens really quickly because it's the Tower card. And, you know, when that happens and we make such big drastic changes in our lives, people often are like, oh, you know, is everything all right? What's going wrong? Da, 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 da. And sometimes that's the way of it. I think this is going to be a time where you're having to really explain to people, I'm actually fine. I'm better than fine. I'm actually better than I have been in a long time, even with the craziness of the world. It's just that I'm shedding the stuff that really doesn't fit, or that I don't need, or that I don't resonate with anymore. And it's hard for some people to get on board with that kind of thing, right? Because when we change so drastically, the things, the people, etc. have to change with us. And if they don't, they will vibrate right out of our lives. Universal law. For May, on May the 16th, you've got that powerful lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio, whilst we also have a Mercury retrograde that will come out of the sign of Gemini and back into the sign of Taurus, right? So it's really weird because the Mercury retrogrades this year are all earth and air, and your first 4 months of the year, apart from the death card, are basically all earth and air. So it looks like I said, you've got your finger on the pulse this year, right? If you do this year right, you could make some really truly spectacular leaps and bounds. All right, for May you have the Empress card, right? So this is nice. While everybody else is running around like a headless chicken, you likely have time, chances and opportunities to advance in some way, shape or form. I really like the Empress card, I always have, just because it's lush, it's fertile, it's beautiful, it's juicy, right? It's all of that stuff. And this feels like a month of potential. And this is why I say, because it's going to be a Scorpio eclipse, you know, and it looks like some of the world is kind of reeling off of what's been taking place, I kind of feel like you're already strategically placed. And what this suggests to me is that you have this amazing sense of calm, this wonderful sense of centeredness that really holds you in a space where you're like, okay, you know what? Yes, there's all of this going on, but actually, I know how I feel right now and I know who I am. There's just a really powerful sense of self that is keeping you anchored in May. And this comes up with, of course it does, the Ten of Cups, right? Look at that. I mean, it doesn't get much happier, much more fruitful, much more juicy than that, right? So for those of you that are hoping to conceive, for those of you that are hoping to start families, my money is definitely, there's 2 months that I'm going to put this on, February and May. These are conception points. These are moments at which you could find that you're pregnant, and it could be very much by surprise, right? For those of you that are planning to buy homes, to buy land, May looks like a wonderful time to do it. I would also say as well, because it's the 10 of Cups, whatever it is that shows up for you, or whatever it is that you're creating in May, it's beautiful, it's abundant, and it really is a true blessing. And this is why I say, like, after what looks like, let's be honest, I mean, you know, January's okay. January's actually really nice. February, a little bit more challenging. March and April, yeah, okay, we can say the shit kind of hits the fan, excuse my language. Whereas May, this is a beautiful month for you, and I kind of feel like this is going to be one of those times where, you know, where everything's kind of a bit up in the air on the wider world stage. This is a moment at which you can maximize on ideas, on profits, on, you know, and I'm not saying profit off of other people's losses or anything. That's never a good thing to do. What I'm saying is there are going to be pockets of opportunity, and if you're open to them, you could get some really amazing deals, or do you know what I mean? Like, it's a time where, you know, keep your eyes peeled. For June, you have the Sun card, right? So whatever plans you have for travel, June is a month where you can do so. June is a month where things are easy, they are flowing, they are light, they are abundant. You've got the Sun card right next to the Empress and the 10 of Cups. May and June are your power months, certainly so far. I mean, this is absolutely beautiful. I would also give yourself time, energy, and space to really breathe, right? Go on the trip, buy yourself that nice thing, spend time with loved ones, whatever it is that's going to soothe and nourish your soul at this time, do it, right? You got a free pass from the universe. You've got this with the 7 of Swords, right? So there is something here that I do need to talk about. For some of you, there may be some moments of the first 6 months of this year where you're having health challenges and or issues. Now, I'm not a doctor. I can't give you medical advice, you know, so don't take this as, you know, well, Raf told me I would be fine. You know, it's not that at all. But the 7 of Swords can sometimes be where we come through something, you know, really closely. You've got this on the Sun card. And so I wonder if either February or March or even April, something happens with the health here, and then in June it's like you get the all clear. It's like you get your mojo back. You start to feel much better, much easier. This doesn't have to just be health as well. This could literally be, you know, maybe something happens with your business, maybe something happens with your relationship or your partnership, and then in June, well, as you come into May actually, and June, there's a moment where you're kind of like, whew, you know, it was a tough start to the year. There were some challenges, there were some issues, but look at this, it's come good. All right, so I'm not too worried about that 7 of Swords. On the other front, because it's right underneath the Tower, and we've got all these other bits and bobs in the background, I would say if there is anything or anyone who has lied on you or about you, June will see it revealed, right? The Sun card with the 7 of Swords, literally a lie that is brought to the surface, a lie that is illuminated in some way, shape or form. And I feel sorry for that person because it looks like they're going to be left holding the bag. For July, you have the Judgment card, right? So blast from the past. This could be, for some of you, this might even be an apology in regards to whatever this is. But to be honest with you, because it's the Judgment card, it's almost like you're like, no, I'm done with that. Thank you, but no. And that comes up with the Ace of Cups, right? That's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, look at this, right? So for the challenges that you had previously, it looks like the universe is more than making up for all of it. The Ace of Cups is a fresh start in love, a fresh start in a relationship, because it comes up with the Judgment card. For some of you, this could be the realignment of a relationship. For some of you, this could be starting over in a relationship, in a new place as well. Very, very possible. What I will say as well, because the Judgment card is, it's usually a big change that is initiated in our lives. And because you've got the Ace of Cups here, this is a fresh start. But when I say a fresh start, I mean, this is like one of those clean slate moments. I like this for you. I will also say as well, for those of you that are single, July is a great month to meet somebody. But because it's the Judgment card, there's two ways that this will show up. It'll either be somebody from a completely different, far-flung place in the world, or somebody that's vastly different to you are, or it will be somebody that comes back into your life. Now, this is one of the few rare times, and I say this all the time because it's really important. It's very, very rare that we reconnect with somebody that we are supposed to get back together with. There is usually a reason that we split, and it's, you know, and I believe as well, the reason people come back into our lives is to show us both how much we've grown, how much we've evolved beyond the relationship or the partnership that's now being presented to us, or the person, right? However, for a select few of you, this does look like a reconnection, and one that is supposed to happen. You know, like I said, there's this energy of you starting afresh, starting with a clean slate. You know, and in order to do that, especially with the way that your numbers interact, this would have to be, you know what, here's all the stuff that I've done, here's all the things that I did wrong, here's all the things that I did right, here's all the resentments that I had. Like, you would literally have to come with a clean slate, and in order to do that, you're going to have to air it all out. So this could be a very interesting month in love, for sure, whether you're partnered, married, single, you know, the works. Yeah, also, I would say that this is something that you've wanted or needed to initiate for a long time, but maybe haven't been able to. This now kind of feels like it will happen. All right, for August, you have the High Priestess. Hidden things will be revealed. August and even July actually could be very, very spiritual months for you, right? Specifically August, but a little bit of July as well. This might be a time actually where you feel like a lot of what is happening is fated, you know, where the stuff that seems to be happening, it's like, okay, this can't just be mere coincidence. So what is being revealed is the Devil card, right? So August might be a time where you realize how you get in your own way. This could also be, and I'm going to call it right here and right now, this is not a year for affairs. This is not a year for playing around on your partner, behind their back, seeing two people at once, all the rest of it. Especially with this, because August will have the universe showing out your ass, right? You're going to be left there, like I said, you know, somebody else might be holding the bag here in June. But if you're out of your integrity, especially where it comes to relationships, or you're cheating on a partner or anything like that, August, you'll be found out. Like, there's no doubts in my mind about this. The High Priestess coupled with the Devil card, whatever you've done that is out of integrity, that is, you know, where you've deliberately kind of not gone out of your way to hurt someone, because sometimes affairs happen for various different reasons. However, you'll be found out. With this combination of cards, like, there's no hiding it. Like, it will be brought out into the light, and quite possibly not in the easiest of ways. It could be loud, it could be ugly. Another way that we could read this as well, and I touch wood, I truly hope that I'm wrong on this, but that can also be sometimes challenges or issues, or even, you know, domestic violence. Because it's surrounded by relatively decent cards, I don't get that feeling. But this would also be a time where if you are dealing with bad, crappy, negative behavior, it may be brought out into the light. So if you're, you know, hiding the fact that your partner's cheating on you or whatever, somebody else will likely find this out and they will call it out. So it's like, either which way, whatever you're harboring or holding back or hiding is going to find its way to the light in August. So if there's something that I will say right out of the gate, if there's something that you know you don't want out there, cut it in the bud straight away, because otherwise August could get very dicey. As we come into September, third and final Mercury retrograde of the year will come out of the sign of Libra back into the sign of Virgo. You have the Strength card, right? So this tells me that whatever challenges arise in August, you got the power to get past them and through them, all right? Really interesting, this reading, because it kind of feels like there's almost like pockets. Do you know what I mean? Like there's been some that have really flowed month to month. There's been others that have just had like 2 themes. There's been a couple that have just had 1 theme. But this is just like there's pockets of different stuff happening, and very interesting. This kind of tells the story of what happens after August, right? So you have the strength to get past it or through it. I truly believe that. And it comes up with the 5 of Pentacles. So for some of you, a select few, not all, but just a select few, this may be it might be a time where you have to let something go, right? The 5 of Pentacles it can be a loss of finances, and because it comes up with the Strength card, I'm almost tempted to say to you, excuse me, 1, some of you could lose your voice, right? So be careful with your throat, your voice, your neck, this whole sort of general area actually. That's on a physical level. On a material level, this could be loss through a relationship. Maybe you know, not all of you, but a select few of you. And you'll know if I'm talking to you, because you'll know that your relationship has been on the rocks, and it kind of only took one thing to, you know, to kind of smash it in August. When you come to September, this could be a time where it's like, okay, you know what, you're going to take your stuff, I'm going to take my stuff, and this is it. You may end up losing out through this, right? But I want to say to you, whatever you lose through that split, you will more than make up once you're out of whatever the situation is, right? Whether it's a job, whether it's a business partnership, whether it's a marriage or a relationship, it's like whatever you have to give or to let go of or lose in September, let it go with grace, because the more you do so, the more you will reap the rewards from it from later on. As we come into October, we're coming into the 2nd eclipse season of the year, 25th of October, solar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio. You have the Hanged Man, right? Use October to lick your wounds, maybe take some time out, give yourself a pep talk. This is a time really to lay low, to reassess, to reevaluate where you're going, what you've got in your life, who you've got in your life, how you kind of interact with them, how they either enrich or fulfill your life or not, as the case may be. But this is a time, I think, where you're going to get really, really clear on where maybe you feel like you've given too much. And that fire, that fight, that sort of in the belly is what tends to drive us on to really amazing results after we've lost what we feel was too much. All right, and you've got this with the Daughter of Wands, right? So this is going to be a deeply creative moment for you, right? October is likely to be a month where you are, I mean, this could, first of all, this could be a month where you're getting a lot of secret information, you know, maybe about a rival, maybe about an ex-partner, etc. You're going to have to put a stamp on that and decide, how much do I want to know about that person? How much do I want or need to know about, you know, my ex, or about my old business partner, or about my old place of work, or whatever? You might need to put like a mini boundary up around that time. It's very possible. That being said, on a personal level, this is a very creative energy, and it's like creating from the spirit, creating from the soul, right? There's this drive towards really, it's like for some of you, maybe you decide to write a book around this time. Maybe you start to think to yourself, how can I tell my story? How can I get what I've got to say or what I've got to share with the world? Like, how can I get it out there? But it's whatever it is that you're doing, you're creating behind the scenes, right? This is something that you're working on alone, right? On the inner sphere, you know, just you and a pen, not even on the laptop or the PC or whatever you have. This is you, a pen or a pencil, and just you and the channel and the divine just going for it to get out whatever it is that you need to express. for November. So remember, whatever's happening here is going to be culminating, completing, or expressing here. November the 8th, we've got that lunar eclipse in the sign of Taurus. I'm not so excited about this one, I have to say. It just looks, when I looked at the chart for it, I was like, ooh, that's not very nice. The April eclipse, I'm like, oh, hey. Right, I'm really excited about. But the one in November, I'm like, all right, so you got the moon card. Makes sense. It's a full moon lunar eclipse. However, this could also be the time where someone or something tries to sweet talk you. At this point of the year, I think you are going to be... you're not going to be disillusioned. You're not going to allow the wool to be pulled over your eyes. Like, you're going to be so far from... You're going to be like that, you know, excuse, because I know a lot of people have complained about my potty mouth recently. So, but unwithable, right? Like, people are just not going to be able to mess around with you in November. You will be so clear on who you are, how you've changed, what you want in your life. Like, this is going to be a powerful moment, and whatever or whoever comes back from the past, you'll be seeing it in such clarity that you will be in a space to either say, yes, I want to be a part of this, or no bleeping way, right? And this comes up with the Four of Swords. So this is definitely a time for you to take a rest. I love this, look. That's one of the reasons I love this deck. It's so diverse, you know, in its... Anyway, this is definitely going to be a time. So if October is a time where you're stepping back to reassess, to reevaluate, it's still quite a busy time. Whereas November really is a moment where you slow down and you say, look, I need to figure out me. I need to really decide, you know, what I want, what I'm about. This is you taking rest, taking recuperation. For some of you, this could be work. Like, November might be a time where your sleep is either interrupted, or it could be a time where you're really, maybe the dreamscape is really active. Your dreams could really be speaking to you, but there's a lot happening at night around this time. I kind of get this feeling that you're really in a space of spiritual flux, right? But not in like a, I'm all over the place, like in a, I know myself so well that I can use that sort of spiritual plasticity to my advantage. I don't know, there's something happening at night here though, because you've got the moon card, which is the nightscape, and then you've got the Four of Swords, which is rest, recuperation. It's like you're taking time out, but you're really active at night. Maybe some of you are starting night shifts around this time. Maybe some of you are, you know, I don't know if anyone else has ever been through this, but I went through a period where I would literally wake up at 3:30 every day on the dot for, I think it was like a month. And in that time, I would sit, I would meditate, I would contemplate, sometimes I would journal. This is a really good time to do that kind of thing. Whatever pulls you from your sleep, there is a reason. Find a way to document it, all right? For December, you have the Temperance card, right? So as you start the year, it's kind of how you finish it, right? The Lovers card is Gemini, and the Temperance card is Sagittarius. So you've got this kind of, right, the Lovers card is a balanced card, but so is the Temperance card, right? So it's like you finally manage to integrate all of the lessons by the time you reach the end of the year, which I find very interesting. And this comes up with the Wheel of Fortune, right? So December will likely be a time where you're traveling. This has a lot of Sagittarius energy, right? So a lot of Saggy energy, because the Wheel of Fortune is Jupiter, the Temperance card is Sagittarius. That's a very powerful pairing, and what it tells me is the universal gifts and blessings that you have accrued over the course of this year will find you in December. Yes, there will be other moments in the year that are great and wonderful, but something shows up for you in December that will truly not even make your heart sing, it will make your soul sing. Like, there's going to be something that happens, something that shows up for you in December where you're just like, this is what it's all been about, right? This makes it all worth it. Whatever the challenges or the issues were, this is my reward. I love it. So your key to the year is the Gate 19 and sensitivity. So what this says to me is, butterfly, remember what I said about, you know, you going through your personal evolution, as it were, over the course of this year. Your key to the year basically says that your sensitivity is your superpower, but in order for that not to be something that jars you, this clarity of self on the inside, which is going to require cleansing. You know, in some way you're going to have to go into that cocoon, you're going to have to go into that chrysalis. The other thing with this card as well, I often find that it shows up when somebody is somebody's gifts, spiritual, psychic, precognitive, all the rest of it, really start to heighten. And I kind of get the feeling that that's what this year is trying to show you, is that not all of your gifts are physical or tangible. Some of them are very much spiritual or psychic. This could be a wonderful time to cultivate those. So let's look at your year. Challenge months. February could be, I'm going to call February a neutral month, to be honest. March and April, definite challenge months. August, if you're out of your integrity or you're deliberately hiding something, August is going to hit hard, all right? Just be aware of that. September could be a challenge month. And I'll probably say maybe a little bit of October, right? Power months. January, love it. February, because it's neutral. May and June and even July, these are gorgeous. I like November and I really love December. So it really is a mixed bag of a year. Anyway, with that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have an amazing 2022. I truly hope that it is your best year yet. Let me know in the comments, check in month by month or every 2, 3, 6 months, as you please. I really hope that it is a wonderful year for you. I wish you all of the best. If you want to get your sign video, you can get those in the link in the description box below. And there's also videos in there that will show you how to calculate your personal year number so that you can watch your personal year video to give you even more information of how to get ahead of next year. With that said, take care and I'll see you soon.